Hello and welcome to Halloween week here on the show, and it's the weather has even taken a spooky Halloween kind of turn down. It's all dreary and the temperatures have plummeted. A lot different than sunshine and Brian Towers wearing shorts last week. Well, it is Halloween, so this week we'll talk to some of the guys and we'll find out just what Kit Hillis should dress up as for Halloween. We'll also find out which Husky player would be best to dress up as Magic Mike. Ladies, stick around for that one. But it is Halloween week. Very spooky, especially in the Canada West playoff picture, because coming up to the weekend, we don't have a clue what is going to transpire. So we'll find out exactly the full playoff picture this week. So please stick around and join us on Pizza Hut Huskies All Access. Hello and welcome to Pizza Hut Huskies All Access. I'm Darren Dupont alongside the Outsiders, Dallas Carpenter and Tom Croker, as we welcome you back inside the studio for another week. It was the Huskies, and they were taking on Alberta with a chance to secure a playoff game. Let's go to the highlights. A win and the Huskies are in the playoffs. Jump snap though, so a free play as flags fly, and Curtis Dell's going to use it. Down the sidelines, finding Adam Zajdel with a big grab. The two would hook up on a 12-yard touchdown strike on the drive, 7-0 for Alberta. Burko looking to answer for the Huskies to the corner of the end zone, but flags fly as he's looking to hook up with John Trumpy. That puts the ball deep inside Golden Bears territory, and the Huskies would take advantage on play action. Drew Burko finding Kit Hillis, a little bit of space, and that ties the game 7-7. After Eddie Olnicki punched one in for the Golden Bears, putting them up a touchdown. It's Burko again on play action, dropping back and going deep, hooking up with John Trumpy this time. They connect, and that ties the game, drawing them even at 14. Second quarter. After the teams exchange field goals, though, the Huskies in the third quarter. It's Burko to Julian Lynch over the middle, and Lynch with his first score. That puts the Huskies up 24-17, and they're looking good in this one. Then Burko over the middle, finding Kit Hillis. He had 116 yards receiving in this one to lead all Huskies. That led to a Denton Kolodziński field goal. And then the Golden Bears looking to answer back, looking for 3 points of their own. The field goal is going to be wide, and Keenan Arniak in the end zone on the return. He's going to take this wide. A couple of early blocks, and you know where this one is going. To the house. Couple of blocks down the sidelines. Mark Ingram makes one there, circles back, and makes another one as Arniak, a 116-yard touchdown return off the missed field goal, and that put the Huskies up 34-17. He puts on a couple extra yards here, and the kid gets a high five. What a grab, what a return from Keenan Arniak. John Trumpy would get another touchdown pass. The Golden Bears would add one late, and the Huskies roll to a win in the second half, 41-23 your final. Kit Hillis setting the record for all-time receptions for the Huskies in this one. Well, with the win over Alberta, the Huskies secured a playoff berth, but it wasn't until later in the afternoon, guys, that they were able to secure the home playoff game. As you know, as we saw that whole day unravel, it was a good day for the Huskies.
It was a great rebound win after a poor performance in Manitoba. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they really found their groove in the second quarter and took control from there. We saw some big plays on offense, defense, and special teams. Keegan Arniak just delivered the dagger with the 116-yard field goal return for a touchdown. I thought one of the big keys to the game was the drive just before a halftime, minute and 27 seconds left. We had the ball on the started on the 3-yard line. Drew engineered a fantastic drive, took the Huskies right down into field goal range, and we were able to take the lead into the clubhouse from that. The team, we've talked about their deficiencies on offense throughout the year, but one thing remains the same, is they have been very good in the red zone. They did it again on Saturday. Drew had 4 touchdown passes. So it's a sign of hopefully good things to come here going into the postseason.
Dallas, your thoughts on the Husky win?
Well, I thought it was a great way to rebound from that loss in Manitoba. Tyler Chow really caught my eye. He looks like a David Stevens out there, and he's going to be a threat. I mean, he had 78 yards receiving as well, as his rushing ability. So he's going to be one to watch from from the years to come. The run defense looked really good in the second half. I got to say, they really plugged the holes, and they didn't allow Alberta very much there. They still have a little bit of work to do in the secondary, plugging some holes there. But I mean, overall, it was a very good win, and they owe the Regina Rams a little bit of gratitude there for knocking off the Bisons and securing second place for them. And then the Rams also owe them some gratitude for beating Alberta and keeping them in the playoff race as well.
It was funny. I talked to Frank McChrystal before that game in Regina. I was working the sidelines for the broadcast on Sean. I asked him, "Are you cheering for the Huskies today?" "You have to be." He said, "Yeah." And I said, "Under that shirt, is there a Husky shirt?" And he's like, "They're still the Huskies." So he wouldn't give me that part. But you guys mentioned a couple of players who stood in your mind. Let's hand out this week's game balls. Tom?
Isn't it great to have a lot of possibilities here? I'm going with Keegan Arniak, though. What a great game in the returns. Not just the field goal return. He had a couple other good ones and another big one for touchdown return that was called back. But he had a phenomenal game in the returns.
Dallas?
Well, and what more can you say about Mark Ingram? He had 2 interceptions to bring his total this year to 6, and he's been named Canada West Defensive Player of the Week, and deservedly so. And he's definitely a shoe-in for first-team All-Canadian this year.
All right, my game ball goes to Kit Hillis. 9 receptions, over 100 yards receiving, and he breaks the Huskies record, the all-time reception. So he's the new leader in all-time receptions for the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. So congratulations, Kit Hillis. You guys mentioned Mark Ingram, 2 interceptions. Yes, CIS leader, 6. Denton Kolodinsky, 3rd in the country in punting average, with a punting average of 41. So the Huskies are rolling now, and we're going to talk about just how much that week played out as far as playoff positioning and all the possible matchups when we return later on back into the studio. But when we come back to Pizza Hut Huskies All Access, we will head back down to Griffiths. We'll talk with Brian Tauris and more. You're watching Pizza Hut Huskies All Access. Pizza Hut Huskies All Access, proudly supported by Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut's great-tasting pizzas are the perfect addition to any game day. Order one of our delicious pizzas today. Pizza Hut, make it great!
Welcome back. Well, we heard the Outsiders a little bit earlier on in the program talking about that Canada West playoff picture just a little bit. Well, we know the Huskies have clinched second place in a home playoff game thanks to their win over Alberta combined with Regina's win over Manitoba. But what we don't know is the rest of the playoff picture. We don't know who they're going to be playing into this final weekend of the regular season. And the beauty of the Canada West is that everybody is still alive. Well, earlier this week, we caught up with head coach Brian Tauris in our weekly coaches chat, talked about just how big it was and how big it is for them to be able to claim second place in a home playoff game here at the University of Saskatchewan. Well, Coach, a big win, obviously getting back on the right track at home on the weekend.
Yeah, that was huge for us. We got a little bonus with Regina beating Manitoba to secure second place. So overall, it was a great weekend. I thought our kids come out and played really hard, and that was the response we were looking for.
Kind of a weird weekend for you guys when you're cheering for the Rams and the Rams are cheering for you. Has that ever happened?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say anybody was cheering for anybody, but you know, both teams were playing a little bit of desperate football and came out on top on the weekend. So you know, we got one left now. We want to go and go win that one and go into the playoffs with a winning note. What changed this past week in preparation as opposed to the 2 weeks heading into Manitoba? I don't think anything changed. You know, we had a great week of prep going into Manitoba, but you know, we recognized that the missing ingredient was the passion and just the emotion that you have to bring to the field every time you play. And you know, certainly it's easier for us at home with the crowds and everything, and Seniors Day and that kind of stuff. So our kids were a little bit more emotional. They recognized the desperation that we were in, and the fact that we did want to have an opportunity to stay at home the first week of the playoffs. How much does that change the way you prepare going into UBC as far as maybe if guys are nicked up or just the game plan? No, again, I mean, we have no idea who we're going to play at this point, so we got to go out and continue to execute. We're going to play everybody. We do want to get a couple guys into the game for a quarter and that kind of stuff, give them a bit of experience, but we're going to win the football game. There's no doubt about it. We're not changing our travel roster or anything like that. If you're healthy enough to play, you're healthy enough to go this weekend. How big is it, especially for this team, to have a home field playoff game? Well, you know, playoffs are all different. Everybody has 45 guys dressed. You don't have a roster size number. differential that you have in the playoffs. But we're comfortable at home. It's just so much easier for the kids when they're going to school. They get an extra 2 days at school. They sleep in their own bed and that kind of thing. So we're happy to be at home. We love playing Griffith Stadium.
And you got this week and next week, obviously, to prepare for that home playoff game. What do you need to see from your team, or what do you need to accomplish before then?
Well, that's what we said. We just want to continue to play consistent football, and I think we kind of got back offensively to doing what we had done before. You know, we had 30-some first downs again. That's the way we played all year. Possess the ball, move the chains. The points will take care of themselves. What I was most impressed with the last game was our response on special teams. From being a bit of a liability in Manitoba, with the block punts and the big returns, we turned the table on Alberta, who also have great special teams and had some great returns and limited one of the most dangerous guys in the conference to next to nothing.
For sure. I want to ask you finally about Kit Hillis. Obviously, he broke the record at home. Talk about his legacy with this team and what he's done in his tenure.
Well, Kit, he came as this fast, quick, fast twitch guy out of Holy Cross and a couple years with the Hilltops. So we just thought that he would be a valuable guy in a number of ways on special teams, but he's evolved into one of the top receivers in the country. He's so explosive with the ball once he gets it in his hands, and so quick out of his breaks. He's difficult to cover in man-to-man. So he's been a real valuable member for us, and we certainly hope he finishes off here with 3 or 4 great games down the stretch.
Great coach. Thanks a lot for that.
Good deal. Thanks.
All right. That's head coach Brian Tauris, and obviously the Huskies excited to be hosting a playoff game in Canada West, and that game will be Friday, November the 7th, here under the lights at Griffith Stadium. That's a big boost for the University of Saskatchewan Huskies. Well, let's take a clearer look, or try to get somewhat of a clear look at the possible scenarios for this weekend and how it will all shape up in the Canada West playoff picture. If 2 teams are tied this weekend, it goes to a tiebreaker. Here's the tiebreaker scenarios, head-to-head. Regina has it over Manitoba and UBC. Regina will also have it over Alberta if they win by 3 or more this weekend. UBC holds the edge over Alberta, Manitoba over UBC, and Alberta over Manitoba. The simplest thing that can happen this weekend is Alberta beats Regina. Then Alberta gets 3rd, Manitoba 4th, UBC and Regina eliminated, regardless of whatever else happens. If the Rams happen to win, there's a bunch of other scenarios that could take place. Check out Jim Mullen's post. He breaks it all down online at cisfootball.org. Jim has figured it out. Head online, check it out. It'll do a much better job explaining it than I ever could.
Pizza Hut's great-tasting pizzas are the perfect addition to any game day. Order one of our delicious pizzas today. Pizza Hut. Make it great!
Well, it is Halloween week, and we know how spooky things are around the Canada West playoff picture with everybody still alive and not knowing exactly where the chips are going to fall. But we had some fun this week for Halloween as we met up with some of the guys at practice and just found out exactly who should be what for Halloween this Friday. Tell me who you think Kit Hillis would be best as for Halloween dressed up.
Oh, I see him as a kitty, like a playful little.
I think so too. Like
cat. You rub his belly, he might scratch you.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah,
something like that.
He'd be a pretty good goblin, just the way he acts and kind of how he runs around there.
Goblin. Sure, I guess. I guess if Drew wants me to dress up as a goblin, that's what I'll go as.
What would Mark Ingram best be as for Halloween?
Probably a bottle of liquor, whiskey, probably.
How about Ryan Bredner, offensive line?
Oh, Big Tex? I could see him in some sort of like big He-Man costume, or with one of those suits with all the big muscles on. I think he'd like to show off like that.
Any kind of big monster.
Oh, he should be like a
bear.
Yeah, either that or like a redneck girl, like dress up like Jessica. What's her face? Simpson in that with the Daisy.
Yeah,
Dukes.
with the short top on. Yeah, absolutely.
I would like that. Yeah.
What should Drew Burko dress up as for Halloween? What would he be best at?
Drew. Oh, geez. How about? I think he's sometimes a bit plain, so maybe he'll just put like a bed sheet on, cut a couple of holes in it, and just be a ghost.
Boy, I don't know. I could see him with a tutu on. I don't know. Your mind can expand from there, but
I would say sexy bunny rabbit.
that would be nice.
Dylan Kemp?
I'd go as like a Magic Mike sort of guy. I could see him with just bow tie tarps optional. I think he'd rock it.
Kemp, I can see as sort of maybe a 70s or 80s rocker. You know, get that crazy hair, wear some of that jewelry, and sort of show off a bit.
What would BT be best as?
I'm gonna stay out of that one.
A principal or something like that.
Bomber?
Oh. Super Mario Bros. Shave the goatee into like a little mustache. I'd like to see him as Mario.
Put a wig on him and make him Mario, yeah.
Who'd be the best Batman and Robin?
Best Batman and Robin would probably be, well, Kyle and Jeremy Long. They kind of just the way they hang around each other. They'd be a good one. I don't know if their crime fighting skills would be that good, but just how close they are, they'd be a good one.
Well, you're looking at them.
Yeah,
no, you're looking at them.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. He's Robin, though.
Pizza Hut's great tasting pizzas are the perfect addition to any game day. Order one of our delicious pizzas today. Pizza Hut, make it great.
Back inside the studio now for Pizza Hut Huskies All Access with the Outsiders once again, Dallas and Tom. Guys, recapping last week quickly, it was the Huskies with the win over Alberta. It was a big game on the network in Regina as Regina beating Manitoba 56-41. That game was a strange one because Regina came out and played extremely well. And then at the end of the game, Manitoba was trying to kill the clock down in that game because of the points, 4 points against differential and playoff positioning. It's all a crazy formula to try and figure out. But that was a big one. And then obviously Calgary just stomped over UBC 67-6. So what we know now, as we take a look at the standings, Calgary's locked up first place. The Huskies have locked up second with the combination of their win and the Manitoba loss. But we got a tie with Alberta and Manitoba, 3-4, UBC and Regina, 2-5. Lots of things can happen in this final week. I guess, who are you guys hoping that the Huskies will see, or who would be the best situation for the Huskies in that number 3 spot?
Personally, I'd like to see us face Alberta again, the same team that just came in here, simply because of their deficiencies on defense. They give up a pile of yards. Where the Huskies struggle is on offense or with our consistency, and you know, we saw it on Saturday. Huskies got over 500 yards offense. So not to take anything away from Alberta, where they are now compared to where they were the previous few years, they're an improving team. They are certainly dangerous on offense. It wouldn't be a sure thing facing them, but I like our chances against them.
Dallas?
Well, and I agree. I think Alberta, the matchup there is better for the Huskies, especially with our talented receiving core. I think they would once again rip up Manitoba's Alberta's secondary. I wouldn't mind seeing Manitoba just because I would like to see a little bit of payback for the Canada West semifinal loss in Winnipeg last year. And they're a little bit more battle-hardened, however, but they're also banged up right now, and they just lost Tyler Fong, their best defensive back. So hey, I'll take anybody. It's just good to have a home playoff game again.
I think that's very important to have that game at home. Who wouldn't you like to see?
I'm not the same. I don't feel the same way as Dallas. I don't want to see Manitoba, quite frankly. Even without Jordan Yance, their outstanding quarterback, they still put up 41 points on the weekend. Nick Dembski, I think, is the best player in the country. I don't even think there's a question about that. They are facing some injuries, but I think they're a dangerous team. It's actually, I can't believe we're in this situation. We're even discussing the fact that they might not even be in the playoffs next weekend. Nobody would have thought that at the start of the year. They'll be tough. Regina, give them credit. We knew they were explosive on offense. They're getting even better now. Atlee Simon, he's looked good. Got a few touches early in the year. He's worked more into the offense now. Dangerous player. They would be the next least team I would like to face. However, from an event standpoint, they would be the team you'd probably want to face the most. It would be an electric atmosphere at Griffiths with them coming there. But in terms of from a competitive standpoint, no.
Dallas?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily like to see the UBC Thunderbirds again. I think they're pretty explosive on offense. I think generally the Huskies match up well with them, but Marcus Davis, he's a big threat, and I would hesitate to see them come again, because all it would take would be a couple big plays, and it might turn the game. So, although Manitoba can do that too.
I know we're going to be talking about it right up until kickoff. It'll be buzz across Canada West as to what's going to happen in this final week of play. Calgary's locked up a spot. Do they rest some people who might not be 100%? Same thing with the Huskies at 5-2. And should Manitoba or UBC happen to win, that'll throw things into an unbalanced situation. So, as simple as it is, you'd like to think that if it plays out the way it should or the way you think it will, that the winner of that Alberta-Regina game might end up claiming that last playoff spot in Canada West, but that's the Canada West this season. You just never know. Huskies are going to be in UBC. It will be the game on the network on Shaw on Saturday. Let's get to our keys to the game, and we'll start with the keys on offense and special teams. Or offense, sorry.
Keep doing what we're doing in the red zone, and let's punch the ball in for touchdowns. Burko's got 18 touchdown passes this year, and most of that coming from the red zone. So that's outstanding. Dallas alluded to Tyler Chow getting the ball a lot earlier. Let's keep giving the backs, throwing the ball to the backs out of the backfield. Something the Huskies have done a much better job of this year. I think on Saturday, between Andre Lalonde and Tyler Chow, I think they had 11 receptions for nearly 120 yards. So very dangerous out of the backfield, and be sure-handed. We've praised the receivers all year long, and rightfully so. Last few games, though, we have seen a few drops, and can't afford that coming into playoff time.
How about the keys on defense and special teams, Dallas?
Well, I think the first key is to plug the holes up front. Brandon Deschamps, the running back for the Thunderbirds, he always has a big game against the Huskies. He tends to run between the tackles, so if they can plug those holes in the A and B gaps, that will be a big thing for them. Take away the big play. Last time the Huskies played the Thunderbirds, they were pretty vulnerable to the big play, and especially with UBC's big play receivers out there, they have to be aware of that. And then on special teams, don't kick to Marcus Davis. That burned us last time. Kick away from him, or take a safety. Do what you have to do to keep the ball out of his hands.
That's credit to Marcus Davis.
Absolutely.
Phenomenal athlete. All right, there's your keys to the game. Guys, before we get into our predictions, this week's Players of the Week in Canada West, a couple of Huskies to give mention to, and that's Mark Ingram as Defensive Player of the Week, and Keenan Arniak, Special Teams Player of the Week. Also, Atlee Simon over in Regina. We talked about it just before we started taping the show here, just the phenomenal talent. He has 4 touchdowns for the Rams. He's the Offensive Player of the Week. So time now for the predictions, and we'll get to the Husky game last, as always. Let's start with Calgary in Manitoba, guys.
Manitoba was a missed field goal away from knocking off the Dinos in Calgary just a few weeks ago, so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see them pull off the upset here. But I just can't go against Calgary no matter who their coach is this week. Do we know who their coach is this week? I'll take the Dinos by 4.
Dallas?
Well, I'm tempted to go with the Dinos too, but if Jordan Yance is playing, I'm going to take Manitoba. So if Manitoba has their starting quarterback, I'll take Manitoba by 7. If not, I'll take the Dinos by 10.
I'm calling the flex pick. It's hard to go against the Dinos. You just can't do it. It doesn't matter who's playing in their lineup. Yep. They're so deep. So I'll take Calgary by 10. The second game, Alberta and Regina. For me, this is the game of the week. And this is a huge game for both of these teams. Tom?
Absolutely. A week ago, none of us would have said the Rams would be in this type of situation. I think we said prior to the UBC Ram game a couple of weeks ago that it was basically an elimination game. And yet here they are, and I think the Rams go ahead and end Alberta's season on the weekend, and Rams win by 10.
Dallas?
Yeah, absolutely. Rams win by 10. Can't argue with that. They've been playing so well lately. Their offensive line is looking good. Their defensive line is looking great. So I think that they'll definitely take it at home against Alberta.
Yeah, I got the Rams by 17 in this one. I mean, they're just so ballast now that they have a running attack. When have we seen, Regina have such a potent rushing attack, and then you add all the receivers in Thompson and Janata and the rest. I mean, they've got so many weapons on offense. So Regina by 17. And finally, the Huskies in UBC taking on the Thunderbirds.
Well, the T-Birds have everything to play for, don't they? Whereas the Huskies, we're locked into second. But just as I didn't take the Huskies last weekend coming off a poor performance in Manitoba, I'm certainly not going to take UBC after the egg they laid against Calgary last weekend. So I'm going to take the Dogs by 6.
Dogs by 6. Dallas?
Well, you know, I think UBC generally matches up well with the Huskies, and it'll all depend on how many starters are playing and for how long. But I think I'll go with Huskies by 3.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll take Huskies by 6. It's going to be a close game. UBC is going to put everything out there in this one because their playoff lives hang in the balance. And that's the game on the network on Shaw. It's the Huskies in UBC taking on the Thunderbirds on Saturday. Guys, final thoughts heading into the weekend?
Well, you talked about it, which of the starters are going to rest, which are going to play. We saw Brad Nearing leave the game in the fourth quarter. Seemed okay after the game, but you know, a player like that, might you want to give him an extra week's rest? And which other Huskies are a little nicked up? You said it. I think the game in Regina is really going to be one to watch this week.
Dallas?
Yeah, on the other hand, it's really kind of a statement game. They want to go into this game and prove that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. So I think that they'll probably, you'll at least see a half out of the starters, if not a little bit more.
It's going to be interesting. Halloween weekend, too. I think there'll be lots of tricks and treats in the standings because you don't know what's going to happen with some of these games. Sometimes when the game plays out, something will happen in another game that will totally change your fate. So we're looking forward to an exciting final weekend of the regular season in Canada West. On behalf of the Outsiders and our technical team, I'm Darren Dupont. Thanks for watching and enjoy this weekend's matchups in Canada West, and we'll see you again next week.